Let me tell you, the morning I found my ranch gate welded shut by the HOA was the kind of moment that knocks the wind out of your chest, like I pulled up expecting to see the same dusty Arizona sunrise over my land, and instead I'm looking at steel barricades with a sign that basically screamed, "You're not welcome here. You ever feel your blood just go cold?" That was me gripping my steering wheel, knuckles white, just staring at a message that said, "Access denied, HOA regulation zone." My whole life, my family's ranch. 600 acres, 5 generations, never touched by HOA nonsense. And now some clipboard warrior decided to wall me out of my own home. I'll be honest, the first thing I felt was disbelief. Then I got mad, like real mad, the kind where you see red and you start laughing because you can't believe it's actually happening. The HOA had sent letters before hinting at shared space and community beautification, and I just chucked them in the fire because I wasn't in their little club and never wanted to be. But those letters were just the first warning shot. Next came the surveyors measuring my fence lines, and then someone smashed my mailbox and left a note stuck in the dirt. "This property needs order. You've been warned." I thought it was a bad prank, shrugged it off. Big mistake. You ever have one of those weeks where trouble comes in threes? My dog Ranger disappeared, came home dirty and bleeding with a plastic HOA tag zip-tied around his neck and a note that said, "Maybe next time he'll stay inside." I ripped that thing off, and something in me just snapped. So when I saw that barricade, I took photos, called the sheriff, tried to play it by the book, only to find out the access road had been quietly rezoned because no one objected. Yeah, except the guy who actually lives there. I could feel the whole system grinding against me, and I realized if I wanted to win, I'd have to play a whole different game. That's when I called my cousin Patrick, who's a lawyer with a real taste for land deals. He showed up, took one look at my stack of letters and the busted water line where someone had poured concrete overnight, and said, "You ready to take the gloves off?" I was. We set up a holding company, pulled together, savings, inheritance, whatever it took, and started quietly buying every scrap of land around the HOA old family plots. Back taxes, folks, looking to downsize, just scooping it all up. While Nolan Garrett, the HOA president, strutted around thinking he ran the world with his BMW and his embroidered polo shirts. Here's where it gets good. We scored the key parcel right by the HOA entrance from Old Edgar, a neighbor who'd been bullied by Nolan for years. Edgar didn't want money, he wanted payback, so he sold us the land for half what it was worth, and with it we could legally build a private road straight through their turf. All the while, Nolan and his little crew were so busy pushing people around, they didn't notice the ground disappearing under their feet. The moment I started putting up new fencing, the HOA lost it. They came out arms folded, spitting threats about community property. Nolan yelled, "This is destruction," and I just looked at him, wrench in hand, covered in mud, and said, "It's my land, always has been. Maybe you should read the deed next time." Linda, with her binoculars, was almost crying, and Jim, the treasurer, just looked lost. It felt good, I won't lie. But the HOA didn't back down. They tried to box me out again, poured concrete in my trench, even built a wall along the trail, and one night, someone set fire to my barn. I showed up to blacken beams, smoke still in the air, and found a scorched piece of a clipboard, just like the ones Nolan always carried. That's when I knew this wasn't just about rules anymore. It was about power, about someone not being able to handle a no for an answer. You'd think that'd be the end, right? Nope. Nolan got desperate and tried to drag in the feds. Some agent showed up, polite as could be, but handed me a letter freezing all my projects until they could sort out environmental complaints. Patrick and I spent nights filing counterclaims, pulling camera footage of Nolan's crew sneaking around, even testimonies from neighbors like Jason and Megan, who'd been harassed for years and finally had enough. Here's the twist. When the HOA tripled everyone's dues to cover land access, the neighborhood went nuts. People started siding with me, waving from across the fence, asking about leasing garden plots, or just wanting a taste of freedom from Nolan's rule. Some folks started a petition, the board crumbled, and one day I got a letter, "No lawyers speak, just plain words. We want a fresh start. Let's rebuild." It's wild how fast things change when you finally push back. And just when you think it's over, I find a black duffel bag buried under a stump, inside stacks of fake HOA filings receipts, even a burner phone. I handed it straight to the sheriff, and the next week Nolan vanished, picked up in another state trying to sell land he didn't own, facing charges for everything from arson to fraud. If you'd told me a year ago I'd be here, I would have laughed. So now the gate's open, big metal sign says welcome. Respect is the only fee. Folks come by with casseroles, kids ride their bikes on the trails again, and the ranch finally feels like home. We set up a relief pact for folks hit by the new taxes. Just pitch in on the ranch, help out with the project, and you get a break. It ain't charity, it's community, and honestly, it feels better than any win in court. But let me leave you with this. All it takes is one stubborn person to stand up and say, "Not here, not now." Maybe that's stubborn, maybe it's foolish. I'll let you decide. So tell me, what would you have done? Ever had your land or your peace threatened by some overzealous board or neighbor with too much power? Share your story in the comments. Let's hear about it, because out here, justice doesn't come in a fancy envelope. It comes when neighbors finally say enough is enough.